Alright guys, welcome back to this week's live stream. I'm going to check to make sure everything's okay. As everybody comes in, just drop your questions, comments, concerns, that kind of thing, and we're going to get started momentarily. If there are audio issues, I do apologize. I am not an audio whiz here. I'm going to look over everything. It says that we're streaming. We should be good to go. And yeah, all should be well. Now, today we're going to be giving you guys a full breakdown of all the TVs I've reviewed so far this year in 2022, giving a complete fall buyer's guide so far. And again, it's just general information as we start heading into more sale dates and again, the holiday season coming up here in a couple of months. So again, smack a like on this live stream and hey, make sure you bring those questions out. And again, if you miss it or you're watching this later on or after the fact, hey, Fridays, 7 p.m. through 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is usually when we're doing this, but this time around we're doing it a little bit early at around 5:50. So kudos there for anybody who caught that, but either way I have something I have to do afterwards, so I have to get this out and that kind of thing. So what's going on, everybody? We've got a question coming in from nobody. We've actually got just hello. So what's going on? Dang host 612, you said hello. Pure AVB, you said, you're good, Q, thanks. Thanks for everything you do. I appreciate it, man. And as you guys are coming in, just let me know if you can hear everything all right, if audio was good, that kind of thing. Because again, I can't stress that I really suck at this audio thing. At least as far as like live stream goes, like I really can't do that very well. Especially like real time. It's pretty annoying. So let me know if audio is all right. And then we've got Silverback69. You said, good evening, everyone. What's going on? Tears of Joy. You said, hey, what's going on? We've got we got a question from Muhammad I can't pronounce that. I don't really know how to pronounce that part. Adabate? I'm not even going to try. You said, is the frame 2022 worth it? Haven't seen the frame from this year, so I can't really give a fair analysis on that. Mr. Davis, what's going on, brother? You said, hey, what's up, Q? You said, audio is clear. We have Dennis. What's going on, brother? You said, hello, good. Sounds good, and hello. So, all right, that's pretty much what we've got so far. Is audio's good? We're good? All right. All right, so as far as TVs so far this year, I mean, I'm not going to waste your time drawing everything out by pretending like there was a whole lot of options. Essentially, you've pretty much got the same options you had last year, and they added a couple ones this year that are kind of worth it. We know about things like the Hisense U8H. Regardless of what anyone would tell you, that's like the best LED TV, mini LED TV, period, this year. Like, you're not finding a better one. And I've reviewed the QN90B. I reviewed all these nicer mini LED TVs way up even into Sony with the X95K, and I was thoroughly disappointed. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, the budget brands are hungry now, so they're going to give you more for the money and strike while the iron's hot kind of thing. You don't know how long this is going to last. For all we know, 2023 hits, and they're like, great, we're charging Sony prices, and then everybody's like, well, go get bent or whatever, you know, like, it's one of those things. In terms of, though, like, a real strategy, I've seen a lot of questions about like when to buy, what are the best time periods. You want to be careful because sometimes it fluctuates too much, right? So like in November, I know they do sales like in the early half and then also towards the end, like the week before Thanksgiving. They usually like to get slick with pricing and drop them. Sometimes they'll wait until like literally the week of Thanksgiving and then they'll be like, all right, now we'll lower the prices. So it's really like a play-by-eye kind of thing. I say once time hits like October, you need to be watching your retailers like Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart's, whatever you want to buy from, whoever you want to buy from, make sure you're watching like a hawk because that's when those sales are going to start rolling in like crazy. So just food for thought there for everybody wondering. Okay, so we've got some questions coming in from a few people. I want to make sure I'm getting everybody's questions and then giving advice at the same time. So hopefully I can strike that balance. So we've got LGC1 still going strong. Absolutely. Is your U7G settings part of your paid service? Yes, I do have U7G settings. And you can pick them up in the settings playlist for the U7G. So I categorize every TV that I've done on a public playlist. You can look at it to see if you have a TV that I've covered. And then, yeah, absolutely, you can join and then be a part of the service and all that stuff. We've got Tears of Joy. What's going on? You said, how much, in your opinion, do Black Friday TVs drop? I mean, it really depends more or less, okay? So, like, some years, you'll have it, for example, let's say a TV like the LG C2. It's a hot contender this year. A lot of people are really excited for it, okay? So, you can expect that TV to go from, like, an everyday price, like, if it's, like, $14.99, right? You can expect it to drop somewhere in the ballpark. They like to get slick, like, $12.99, and then towards the latter end of the Black Friday season, you might see it fall off to like $11.99 at some place like Costco or something, right? And then shortly after, everybody else kind of follows suit. But usually, it's within a couple $100. Like, don't expect more than like a $300 drop in some cases. Like, you can every year there's what I would call the like popular model, right? And that'll be like the TV models that usually fall in between like the $1,500 price range that everybody buys every year regardless. It recycles itself. It gets called many different things over the years. But those TVs, ironclad, will always see an influx of shoppers, right? These are things like your 900 series now rebranded to the X90 series from Sony. You'll see things like the C series and the B series. Well, not so much the B series anymore. That has kind of tapered off with the pricing of the C series now. So you see the C series get a good amount of sales. Of course, there's TCL with their 6 series. Always going to sell no matter what you do, no matter what you say. Same thing is for the Vizio M series and Hisense with their 8 series. Those usually do really well. And those are just bread and butter models year round that will always sell and will always have a market for them. Now, how those stack up now and currently in this current market is a little challenging because now we have Sony at their all-time lowest, which is disappointing. I myself, I mean, like, one of my first luxury TVs was a Sony, okay, so, like, going into it with Sony in my mind, like, okay, this is luxury, they've really fallen off hard. So if you're looking for quality, you're looking for deep black levels, vibrant color, excellent brightness, or any type of over-delivering, that's just not your brand this year, right? Sony is the brand you go with if you want, like, upscaling. For low bitrate content, you want smooth gradations so you don't have any kind of banding artifacts if you're interested in pushing color spaces out beyond their native color spaces, or if you're watching something that just really sucks in general, it's like really dated and you want to clean up that noise. They do a better job with like that kind of thing from a processing perspective, but pretty much everything else on the X90 series all the way up to the X95K, not going to be ideal. I mean, people say it is, but unless you're buying the 75-inch version, at which point then I would just say, like, spend the extra money and get like something better, like the C1, or I mean, it really even shouldn't be that much more. I believe they're the same price, right? So I mean, like, get the C1 over that. But so you get what I'm saying, like, you have better options once you start approaching a certain price point. Otherwise, Sony, like from the 55-inch, 65-inch with the X series, don't even waste your time. Then you have, of course, how that stacks up against something like the TCL I just got done reviewing with the R655. That TV was a super disappointment, and I don't recommend a Solo Live buys it. Just buy last year's TCL if you're really interested in TCL. You'll have more options, more control, and your picture quality will be capable of far more than especially what they did this year. So that's kind of how that lies in. In terms of Hisense usually does pretty well, but being completely honest, coming from a Hisense U8G, I just can't really see the point. Like, let's say you have a U8G right now, or even an H9F, or even a H9G, right? I can't see enough of an upgrade with the mini LED to be like, okay, just junk your old Hisense and jump on board with a new one outside of black levels, because the black levels are a ridiculous improvement. But if that's not something that's so painstakingly annoying for you on your current model, then I wouldn't waste my time, swapping out units and things like that. And in terms of other TV models, it's going to kind of go as a play-by-play. Some people, for whatever reason, I say this every year, I never get listened to, it's okay, but there are these things that are called hot buy. Best Buy calls them hot buy, a couple other stores call them hot buy TVs. These are going to be your $200-$300 TVs. Never buy these things. These things are made to basically entice you, but like, I mean, I've seen it to where they'll have like a 70-inch TV for like $300. It's like you're not getting a quality set. If all you care about is the size, then go for it. But it's like, the TV isn't really gonna be the best. So that's my thing with those kind of like Black Friday blowout deals. Like, I always hate those. You'll see like mid-range. You can hardly call it that because it doesn't have any quantum dots. Like, you'll see like a Samsung TU7000 or like something along those lines. Like those ultra mid TVs. Like, don't do it. Like, just don't. I've also gotten a lot of questions lately about Nano, the Nano 80 series, the Nano 90. Don't buy any LG LED TV. those TVs are designed specifically for people to look and see what LG's processing and what their features are capable of, but then also have crappy black levels to make you want to jump up and buy their OLEDs, which they put all of their money into basically at this point by being the market leader in terms of even affordable OLEDs with the A series. They really don't care about LED. It's just there, so like technically it's not money left on the table, but they don't give a damn about you. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Pretty much no Best Buy rep or any rep anywhere is going to tell you that. You've got to kind of know that going into it, and so now you know that. So I'm going to dive back here into the chat and see any kind of questions you guys are having, and then we're going to go from there. Okay, we have what is the phone in your hand? The Samsung S22 Ultra. How much in... Oh, I already got that one. We have High Quantum TV. I'm looking at Costco LG 86-inch, but the specs say that it's an edge-lit panel, 120 Hz VRR. Edge-lit is okay. No, you do not want edge-lit in 2022. It is an insult, quite frankly, because for $649 you can get, you know, mini LED with inky black levels that approach OLED territory, and then for like $949, which is sub 1,000, you can then get yourself a nice 65-incher that gives you, again, those same inky black levels. And then if we look at like the $1,500 price range, right, for something like the TCL 6 series from last year, you can get up to, you know, really inky black levels. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but it's definitely going to give you way more than any edge-lit display is going to give you, and it might not quite be the 86-inch that they're advertising, but those black levels on an edge-lit display usually are pretty bad. Now, in some rare cases, right, like with the Samsung frame TVs, you can see some really surprisingly shocking inky black levels. And the same holds true for like the Sony, I believe it was the X80K this year. That was actually pretty impressive for a budget TV. Now, it didn't have the most uniform black levels, but for a TV that didn't necessarily have all the bells and whistles, it was fantastic. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head if the Sony is... the X80K specifically is edge lit, but if it is, I think that's something to think about. I think it was mostly like direct lit, but it didn't have what was it, the local dimming tech in it, so I think that's something to think about. But either way, I would not be going for any kind of edge lit. Now, the second part of your question, you said, or will edge lit leak for sure? Primarily wanting it for PS5 gaming. And yeah, I mean, like, if you run me like numbers, right, you say like I've got a budget of like, let's say, give or take $400, $500, whatever it is, I'll help you find like the best TV, bar none, period, in that class. So definitely shoot me those figures and I'll help you out. We've got, do you prefer Android or Apple? Just asking. I'm Android all day, every day, because Apple, I mean, like, no offense to anybody that has it, it's just restrictive and it's not my thing. So I know that that probably upsets some people, but like, I genuinely just hate Apple products. Apple TV, anything Apple, I hate it. I don't use it. iPad, none of that. iMac, none of that. I don't like Apple at all. I think their mantra is like they genuinely believe their customers are stupid and they're just going to keep giving them the same thing over and over again. And if you don't believe me, look at the iPhone 14. Like, that's all I'll say there. Not a bash on anyone, but that's just not for me. Do you expect the 48-inch C1 to go back in stock? I don't. I see a lot of C1s actually selling out, and so I think it's going to get to the point where you're going to kind of miss the train on that if there are no stocks online, because in-store, that's pretty much cleared out at this point, and I think it's only going to get worse as time goes on. And it was kind of like what I was telling you guys, like, that's a TV you want to jump on early because it's sold out like hotcakes. And as good as the C2 is, the C1 is just better. And that's one of those things that, again, like, if you have one, you know, but if you don't, unfortunate, get the one with worse motion. I mean, it is what it is. And I think, again, when I say worse motion, sometimes people kind of get up in arms, right? And they're like, what do you mean it has worse motion? I mean, like, in terms of, like, its ability to process fluidity of high-paced, like, ridiculous geometry, like ribbons twirling around at the U.S. Open Olympics or something like that, it's going to look worse on the C series from 2022 versus last year. And I think those are the kinds of anomalies that, while it might seem petty at first, you're going to start picking up more and more with normal usage, not just like people slapping on a test pattern and saying, hey, this is an amazing TV or this has excellent processing because I ran it through a computer program, because there's a lot more variations, right, in geometry as we start getting to moving patterns and, you know, digital imagery. So that's something to think about there. We have U8H is the boss right now. Pretty much. That's what I would say too, especially for LED TVs. What's going on, Ricardo Ramirez? Thanks for being a VIP member. You said LG C1, Xbox X, PC mode, or game mode. That's kind of a trick question for me personally. I am like a story-driven kind of guy. So like your Tomb Raider games, you know, the pretty much third person, I guess, storytelling mode where you run around as a character, do whatever you want. Like Spider-Man, you know, all that kind of thing. I don't like game mode. And the reason I don't is because you lose picture options like motion processing, so that gets turned off and you just get kind of like whatever the TV's native refresh rate is. And then maybe they'll slap on like VRR or whatever. But like currently, if we look at PlayStation and we look at Xbox, they are underpowered in terms of being able to hit reliably 120 hertz with really good resolution. So I don't really put my hat on those resolutions and frame rates and none of that. I literally stay at like 4K 60 max. I prefer 1440 60 on everything. Like on PC, I have like an RTX 3080 Ti. I refuse to game in 4K because I don't want to. I rather make everything just blast off at ultra settings, max textures and all that good fun stuff. So I think it really depends on the gamer. So for me, I'm always in standard mode, but if you're somebody that's always online or something like that, you know, you're trying to get ranked in something, then of course you're going to need the input lag responsiveness. I say then yeah, go with game mode, but never PC mode. PC mode is the most restrictive mode out there. You like lose so many settings, like outside of like literally the core settings like contrast, brightness, sharpness, I think tint, and I think not even color you have access to in a lot of cases. I mean, it gets really hard after you start getting to past a couple of core settings. Like 90% of your settings basically are grayed out. I don't like PC mode at all. So that's what I would say there, man. What about the LG C1? The LG C1 is a phenomenal TV. Okay, thanks Q, no problem, man. We go SDR versus HDR. HDR doesn't always look good. Very true, very accurate. I've done so many like why HDR is a scam videos, which of course some people tend to take protest to that like it, but again, I'm not the only one that report on it. That's why I love showing that like even HD TV Test shows broken HDR from time to time. Like it's a known thing in the industry. They need to fix it. It's been this way since 2015 when the tech first launched, at least on a commercial scale. And I think it's one of those things, or rather a consumer scale versus commercial. And I think it's really annoying because it's like we have this stigma now where it's like if you're a user of any HDR movie or whatever game, everybody almost immediately says like if you don't put it in HDR, you don't know what you're doing with your system, or you have to buy a better TV. I can't tell you, over the years I've heard so many people say, you know what, you just have to buy a better TV. Meanwhile, I sit at the top of the precipice with the best of the best with the Samsung S95B, and I still do not like HDR at all. You know, I've got my Sony A8G Bravia OLED, don't like HDR. My Hisense UHD, don't like HDR. Q8FM behind me, HDR beast, but I don't like HDR because when you really optimize SDR, it's not only more consistent, but again, it looks better time after time again in a lot of examples over HDR where again, it's just washed out and so on and so forth. So yeah, you won't find any argument from me there in that regard. C1, $1,500, C2, $1,800, S95B for $1,600. Which one would you say is good? Is it worth going with the C1 for Dolby Vision? The answer to that is no. I don't see Dolby Vision and HDR in general as enough of an upgrade, enough of a reason to downgrade yourself to the C1 and W OLED, frankly. Because if you can get yourself an S95B, my friends, let me tell you from a guy literally, again, from day one basically of that thing launching, having that TV, I only meant to review it. I fell in love with it immediately, right? And upon falling in love with it, I just have been using it for everything. I said, you know what, screw it. I took my PCs off of my A8G. I literally basically retired every TV I own, more or less. I put my Switch on there. I put like everything I run on that TV. It is the best TV I have. And I think like if you see it, you'll understand. My biggest advice to anybody, if you get it, don't get into the habit of upgrading Samsung TVs. They cannot be trusted with firmware. I learned that lesson in 2016 with my KS8000. I was an idiot. I updated my Samsung Q8FN. I ran into like one nerf or so, and then I stopped there. And then shortly after, I heard it got nerfed pretty badly. Still haven't updated it. And then again with the Samsung S95B, after like a couple of firmwares, they started nerfing it. I don't know what their problem is, but Samsung nerfs TVs, which is a damn shame because like if they would just give you the advertised product, I think so many people would be happy. Now, after firmware 1304.1, I think it is, I've been seeing numerous reports. I mean, we're upwards in the thousands at this point. People saying like it fixed brightness quantum, check it out. I can't say that it does or doesn't, so I won't invalidate what people are saying without checking. But what I will say is I will never update my TV again. It literally was so bad after it got nerfed. I literally returned it, went right back out and spent the money before I even got the return, and just was like, fuck it, I'll just pay the money and wait for the return money to come back to my bank, because I could not live without that TV at its original form. Now, if you've never seen it in its original form, that's something entirely different, because you don't know like how bright it truly was or how amazing it truly was. And for me, like going from a level that's up here and then going to right here, I wasn't having that. And so I think that's like one of those things that I will warn a lot of people on when we talk about the S95B. It's the best TV out right now, but you got to make sure the firmware is correct. You don't want to be on 1303 like that firmware 1302 for 1303 trash ass firmware. If it comes from the factory shipped like that, at that point you've got nothing to lose, then update, yeah. But if you get something rare, like I've got like 1082 or 1092, I think even 1203, I can't remember, 1202, 1203, something like that, 1204, do not update those firmwares. Leave it as is and you're golden. But everybody else, then yeah, you're going to have to update it. Especially if what people say are true. We've got, hey Quantum, or rather, hey Q, what's a good 75-inch option for streaming YouTube? Very casual. You're using Switch. You say you're trying not to be too enticed by the higher end features that you might not benefit from with less intense usage. I'd say a good way of starting, maybe try with last year's TCL, right? Because they got a pretty decent size. Don't be tempted by the newer one this year because it's limited and it's crappy. But start off with TCL, because like you'll get most of what you're looking for out of a 75-inch TCL. It's not going to give you everything, but it's a good starting point. And then if you see like, hey, you know what, this just really isn't for me, then you can start to look at things like maybe like a 77-inch LG C1 if you can still find it, or maybe the C2, and then go from there, because I think that'll be the best strategy. Now, I can't confirm or deny if the U8G this year is a VA panel. I've heard so many conflicting things. I've seen in writing from Hisense that, hey, it is a VA panel, only the 55 and 65 are VA, so the IPS panel is going to be the 75-inch. But then Digital Trends apparently done some digging. I mean, they have more corporate influence. They're in the back pockets of everybody, so I don't know what that buys you in the world, but I'd imagine a lot. So maybe they found something out that the rest of us couldn't, but I think with so much, I wouldn't say misinformation, but conflicting information, I wouldn't trust it. That's why I didn't recommend the U8H for anybody that might be like, what about the U8H? So LG mini LEDs are pretty good, though. As I heard. Nah, their mini LEDs are pretty bad, man. I mean, like think of you want to know an LG mini LED? You think of it like this, okay? Black levels uniform until there's a highlight on the screen on a black background, and then you see a bunch of like gray spotting all over your screen. That's the LG LED experience, and it has been for years. And the reason for that, again, is they need to sell that OLED line. Again, they're putting a lot of money into it. They're not going to lose all that. We've got, what about the Vizio MQX? I've heard about it, have not seen it myself, so I won't render a decision quite yet on it. Is the TCL, what is this, 735 any good? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that particular model. What's going on, Eric? You said, I'm talking 65-inch in Costco Hisense U7H, $780 versus Costco Samsung S95B. That's not even a comparison at that point. Just do the S95B. What's going on, Enoch? I thank you, brother, for being over 24 months with Quantum TV as a VIP member. I appreciate you, brother. You said, what's good, Quantum? Everyone in the community. Hope everyone is doing well. My question is what is your thought on the Sony A3000 soundbar? I actually haven't heard that. I think I've only heard, I believe, like the 5000 and I think the 7000, but I have not yet heard the 3000, so I can't render a decision. What I can say is, like, go with your favorite content already loaded up on your phone, you know what I mean? Just have something ready to go and check it out. Especially music. Like, for me, that's a big one. I love, like, Ingrid Michaelson. She has this song, The Way I Am. or something like that. That bass will tell you everything you need to know, and because of the type of bass, it tends to rattle tinny speakers and reveal any crappiness that a TV can have or anything can have. I can never do it for my YouTube videos, but like in real life, dude, the way I am, that's the song you want to be using to check these speakers, because again, if it's gonna rattle, you're gonna hear it immediately with the bass line of that song. James, what's going on? You said went through a couple of QN90B panels. They all had the grid shape patterns. Ugh. It's something that I would notice in real content. Or you said it's something that I would notice in real content. Where there was a blue sky, pretty typical. You said, is this something that you've seen? Yes, typically with Samsungs. I think I've been experiencing this as far back. I'd say it got really bad. I mean, it was there in 2016, but it got really bad in like 2017 and onward, 2018 with the Q9F-N. That was the model back then. It was terrible. They had a lot of like dirty screen effect as you pan, and it would always be like vertical. It was really not my kind of cup of tea, so I'm not surprised by that at all. The Q90R was terrible for that. I remember that back in, I think it was 2019. I wouldn't go for these kind of TVs at all. But that's just what I'll say there. So yes, very common. Doc says, yo, Quantum, what's going on, man? Okay. Your budget is less than $1,800 and 85 inches or 86 inches LG something, and has to have 120 hertz VRR, and you said LG UQ7590 on Amazon Direct LED. You're thinking that would be better. I don't know, man. Let's see. Let's do this in real time. I honestly don't know that for that particular price point, you're going to find a really good 85-inch TV. I mean, you're talking, we've got to keep it under $1,800, okay? So in real time, I'm going to check this out for you. And, I mean, like, I see the 86-inch, you know, QNED, but it's the Q85, or rather the QNED 85. I would not buy that TV. I would not buy the AU8000. That TV does not have quantum dots. It's not worth it. The X85 or the X80K, I would not buy that TV either. The blacks can be a bit gray, and the larger you make the screen, that would become a bit of a problem. The X91J, maybe I might look at. It's kind of in that ballpark, and I think that's a decent starting point. What else do we have? I would not buy any Amazon Fire TV. They can absolutely kick rocks. That is not what you do with your money. Let's see. The Q60B, I mean, you could try that, but don't expect inky deep black levels like you would on something a little bit higher. But we're over budget now at like $1,834 right now, so I wouldn't do that. And then once we get into the Q7A and all those other TVs like the X90K, you're over $2,300 in a lot of these cases. So I think your options are actually pretty limited in that respect. So I would go the route of trying first with the Sony X80K or X91J, because that's still available on Amazon. I don't know where you are regionally, but as I look at it here, that would be what I would do. I hope this helps. And for all my viewers that know, my damn cough that comes back like randomly every live stream, I am good for like an entire month, and I haven't done any live streams. The moment I do a live stream, the cough comes back. I don't know what it is. It's like the curse. Let me see. I've got water down here. All right, let's see. Hopefully we can get rid of this cough. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. Who knows? Okay, so we've got how good is the S95B auto calibration via cell phone? It's absolutely garbage. Trash, worst of the worst, scam feature 1,000,000,000%. Period. That feature breaks your colors and makes everything look like a digital negative. The same effect that it has when you go into the custom color space and you try calibrating the colors, it breaks everything. It is a worthless feature that unless, like, depending on the mode, right? Like, I did a tutorial showing, like, I believe it was, like, filmmaker mode after the updates, and then it was the torch mode, which was their dynamic mode. Those were, like, the only two modes that weren't affected, which is pointless as hell. And I think, honestly, like, it's a waste. Like, just don't even waste your time with it. 75-inch TV to buy. I would try the TCL 6 Series. I'd start there, and then maybe work my way up to the 77-inch C1. Thanks, Q. No problem. Xbox, I'm digging it. Who's down to play some games? Looking nice on the C1. Shout out to Jeffrey Rodriguez. I just literally scrolled down here and saw your super chat. I appreciate your donation of $2, brother. As you know, it keeps us independent here, so I appreciate it, brother. And again, thank you for being a member. On top of donating, on fire, man. Your question is, will the S95B get even cheaper Black Friday than now? I actually expect it to fall quite a bit. So what I'm thinking they're going to do, right, strategy-wise, if we're being realistic here, they're going to come out back down to, like, I'd say the $16.99 price point, because right now it went up by $100. It's like $17.99. I think, like, come closer to Black Friday, they'll lower it down to like $16.99. And then as we start going further on into like the later years, that's when we're going to see the plummets down to your $14.99s. And then as we get towards the clearance, we might even get lucky and see like a C1 situation happen where it gets down to like $1,100, like $10.99, kind of like as an everyday price. If that happens, that would be ridiculous, which I kind of suspect because there's rumors floating around that TCL is trying to put out a quantum dot OLED that's cheaper and all that stuff. If that happens, the big guys can always lower the price since they were on the market first of their first gens and then just over deliver. And because they have the market share, they have the bigger name, who do you think they're going to buy? Do you think they're going to buy a no-name TCL, or do you think they're going to buy a Samsung? Obviously, people are going to buy what is familiarity, and then a lot of it is status, right? Like at a certain income level, you just don't want a TCL in your home. I've had it happen so many times. I've had so many clients, like, they have problems with their luxury brands, but like when you recommend a Hisense, when you recommend a TCL, the nose goes up in the air real quick. They go, dude, I'm over here clearing 6 figures. I'm not about to put a TCL in my home. Like, it's almost like you insulted them, like you called them poor or something. Like they really take offense to it. And I think that's kind of the ground that TCL and Hisense kind of have to make up on their own with quality processing and things like that. So yeah, only time can tell, but that's kind of what I'll say about that situation. We have a question coming in from Dane. What's going on, brother? You said good evening, Quantum Nation. You said big ups from Trinidad and Tobago. And I always love hearing where you guys come from. So if you guys want to shout out your city, where you're from, what you love about your city even, because I haven't seen that before on the stream, that'd be really cool. I'm here in sunny Florida, so I'll go first. I think what I love the most about Florida is freedom, and I think the weather. I absolutely love how, like, one moment you can have one half of your city completely covered in rain. You go, like, literally 3 miles down the road, it's sunny again. Florida. If you live here, you know what I'm talking about. Lovely thing, though. What's going on, Yui Hashi? I'm not going to even try. What's going on? You said, happy with my $700 LG C1. You got a C1 for $700? That's a great deal. Hisense U8G TCL, which one is better to buy? Typically, the Hisense is going to give you more versatility over your picture quality. TCL, in terms of last year's model, does have a lot of nifty features, but it does kind of fade a little bit when you kind of see picture quality compared to the Hisense in terms of what you're getting value for dollar. I think motion is better on the TCL, but Hisense overall is just a stronger comparison, or stronger competitor. Mark, what's going on, man? You said, is it possible to never update a TV? Absolutely, 1,000,000,000%, man. Think about it. Back in like 2013, right, we were buying smart TVs. Some of those TVs back in those days, you had to get a USB. Some companies like to sell little special media boxes, make you upgrade through that. And sometimes the features just didn't work all together. And guess what happened? Those TVs went unupdated like 99.9% of the time because nobody's going to do that. And then, you know, I still have those TVs from those time periods, right? I'm still rocking my Sony W800B. I don't have a moment where I'm like sitting here like, oh, let me update my Sony W800B. Like this new concept, right, of like updating TVs, it only became popular within the last few years. I'd say really like from 2015 onwards. It's not like a normal thing. Like usually in years prior when you buy a TV, it's just the product. It's a television. You're supposed to watch it and enjoy the features packed in. But companies through DLC and gaming, through streaming apps and things like that have kind of conditioned people through phones. You know, you need to update these devices to get the optimal experience. It's so bad now. We've got like what, Tesla with car updates? Like Jesus Christ, I hate that. For me, that is not my kind of car. I'm very old-fashioned in that way. Like I want something that doesn't need to be updated and tethered to the internet 24 hours a day. That's just my take on it. But I think honestly, in terms of updates, it is possible to never update a television for sure. Never include your internet. Yeah, exactly. That's another way that you can avoid it. Just don't add your internet. Like for me, on my S95B that I got just now, I don't ever put in my information, like for Wi-Fi, none of that. And they can't just magically hack your device and guess it. So if you unbox the TV and you never put it in, you're good. Got the LG C17 last year. What is a C17? Black Friday, you said recommend it. And you said not disappointed with it. Love it. Paid only $12.99. I've not heard of a C17. What is that? Lakers 315. What's going on, man? You said, are you upgrading your PC to the new GPU when it's coming out this winter? Absolutely not. I am so pissed off, right, with my 3080 Ti because it was a big fucking scam. Pardon my French. I get really angry about it. Now, people will swear up and down, like, and I love this. Every time I, like, come to the community, like, because I like to give the community power back also. It's not like a one-way street, like, I know something and I'm the only one that could ever know something. If there's something I genuinely need help with, I love making videos and going, hey, guys, like, yo, beats me, right? Like, what is this? Can you help me with that? And I did that with my Mortal Kombat video. Now, some people have made little snide remarks about it, but for the most part, people were trying to help. But the thing is, the more I looked into it, the more I learned it's got nothing to do with the fact that, you know, maybe it's the game or my settings or my PC. Is nothing like that at all. In fact, it's the GPU, because I have that same game and I have it on my 2080 Super running like a damn gym. Similar components in both of them. Okay, and the fact that it's able to run on my older hardware, it just means that the new GPUs just are too new. They're not made for the newer game or for the older game. And for me, that really pisses me off, because it's like, I bought that so that I could play my older stuff until the newer stuff comes out at better resolutions and look cleaner and the performance would be greater. And then just to find out it's just like a pipe dream that's never going to happen. And then you find out that, like, you reach out to NetherRealm Studios, you go on Steam, you do all this stuff. Nobody cares. It's not like something they're going to look through and go, oh, yeah, we care about this person's complaint. Like, they don't care. So it goes de-optimized outside of, like, all the new games, like Spider-Man or whatever COD game comes out. It's like, it's a joke. And now they have the audacity to be like, the 4000 series around the corner. I'm like, you can kiss my ass. I've already fallen for your scam once. You know, shame on me. Unless my GPU fries out, I won't be doing that again. And even then, I'll probably go AMD because I'm pissed off about it. Like, I got done really dirty, and I'm still sour about it if you can't tell. So yeah, that's kind of what I'll say there. If you want to test bass, what's test bass? Play James Blake, Limit to Your Love. I don't know what that is. Doesn't really sound like my thing though. I'm more of an anime kind of gaming guy. Which, by the way, for my anime fans, did you see that Dragon Quest game that's coming out? Looks pretty fire. The One Piece game, on the other hand, looks trash. I'm pretty disappointed in that. We should have had a fighter game or something. Like, I don't know. Their direction is just going downhill as far as those games go. Need it for movies, TV shows, and some games. 65-inch. Which one? U8G or the U8H or the U7H or the U6? Basically everything. I would say just go with the U8H, man. You'll be good to go. The U8H, I did say that, yeah. What's going on? I always mess your name up. Every live stream. I can't, I don't even know how to say it. Is it, how do I say your name, bro? Is it Minnie? Is that how you say it? Manny? Is that Manny? I don't know. Is the 4 supposed to be an A? I don't know. I always get tripped up on like when you put numbers in instead of like the letter. That always screws me up. You said, hey Q, played GT7 on the 65-inch C1 rockin' S95B imitation settings, and it was glorious. Sending appreciation, and I'm glad for that. Thank you for letting me know that you are enjoying it. Again, those feedback pieces go a long way into the next creations of settings that I make and moving forward into the future. So the more feedback you guys give as members, the better these things end up in the long run for everybody. We've got Lewis. What's going on? You said, should I buy the Samsung S95B? I give it the highest endorsement anyone could possibly give, for sure. Hey Q, any advice on the Samsung QN95B? I have not seen it, but I do think it's a bit overpriced, if I'm being honest with you, because I think the only thing it really offers over all the other models is like a One Connect box and maybe a few other local dimming zones. I'm not seeing the price of the S95B being cheaper than that. I don't see it. How about the A80K versus the S? I think you meant to put 95B, $300 difference. I still say go with the S95B. The A80K is WOLED. It is going to look dated compared to it. And then, of course, the typical Sony issues of being overly blue. And then, of course, the typical Sony issues of motion artifacts aren't going to go away anytime soon. So for that, I just say just do what you know best. And that's the Samsung S95B. We've got... Okay, Quantum, thanks. No problem, man. Shout out to WisdomNet9. Thank you for being a long-term member here. I think that particular badge, you've been here over 6 months, so shout out to you for that, man. You go on to say, Quantum, I have an LG C1 and I love it, but it feels too dim. Afraid, you said, and I'm always afraid of burn-in. Is there a way, is there a way, is there any TV that can give me picture quality but brighter? The 3D depth I love. It's kind of hard because TVs kind of like when we talk about the LED side of things have kind of taken a turn for the worse. But that's almost immediately what I would recommend. As far as coming from the C1, for example, like I have a C1 right now and I'm going to go to the, let's say, Hisense U8H. I probably wouldn't do that because you're going to run into worse motion and you're not going to have the gradation control. So I wouldn't really recommend it. And then when you get to the gaming aspect, forget about it. The Hisense is not a good gaming TV for PC gamers. So that's out. But it gets to a point where it's like the 3D element is there in a lot of examples, but I don't know. That's a tough one because you're almost immediately still stuck with OLED if you want that 3D immersion. And right now, I'm sorry to say that for me is the S95B. Like, there is no TV touching that TV with 3D. Like, bro, I am such a fan of One Piece and all this cool stuff, and I watched, all of the most recent episodes, speaking of which there better be one today that I can sink my teeth into, you know what I mean? Then I'm having so much fun on that TV. Bro, I'm smiling right now thinking about it. I don't smile talking about TVs. I'm jaded as hell. I've been doing this for years. But that TV makes me feel like it's like I'm young again in the game, Like I've never done this before. Like it's a new experience, and that's how it should feel. And I think that's the TV you should go with 1,000,000,000%. And if anyone can afford it, do it. Yeah, it might be pricey at like $1,700, $1,600 plus tax, but do it. You'll love yourself for it. I mean, I haven't even gotten around to watching the 90s X-Men series. I am so excited for that. Like, I am excited again to watch my content. And I think that, put a backlight kit on there too, forget about it. It's over. Dude, like, look at me. I just lit up. You can't fake that happiness, right? And I think that's the thing. Like, you have influencers everywhere, all over the internet, right? Everyone's bubbly. Everybody's happy all the time. Everything's like, everything's awesome. But, like, then I run into, like, the moments where I'm like, wow, no, like, this is really a genuinely good product. And finally. And it's funny because for years, if you remember, like, people have been saying, oh, Quantum's an anti-Samsung fan. He's a Sony fanboy, Sony pony. I got called for many years when I was saying the Sony X900E just kicks ass and slays house. And then after that, I had my Samsung Q8FN and then my AAG, and there's always somebody, doing this. But at the end of the day, like, this Samsung is legit. I think, like, out of all the TVs I've seen, the S95B is the only one that has come close to the Q8FN and surpassed it to the point of, like, making me just feel pure bliss and like everything's new again. So I would highly recommend that. I couldn't say that enough. All right, so we've got Roku Ultra versus Fire Cube versus Apple. Not fond of the built-in TV apps. Yeah, I'm not fond of the built-in TV apps either. I wasn't a fan of the Fire Cube. I tried that. I don't really like that. Roku is dog shit to me. I really hate it. Pardon my French again. I hate Roku so much. I don't like Apple products. All three would kind of be disqualified. I would go with like a Google Fire Stick. I wouldn't really... There's like a little... You guys ever have like a little bug just kind of flying around, what the hell it is? That's what I've got going on. It's just a singular little asshole, just like, I'm going to fuck with you. Like, I hate that. And you can't get them because you're too slow. You're a human, So annoying. But back on topic with what I was saying, I would go with like maybe a Chromecast or something like that. But personally, what I do, I use PS5, Xbox Series X, that kind of thing. I use gaming consoles to stream. I don't use Blu-ray players to stream anymore. Simply because they literally freeze if you have like a Sony Blu-ray player. I don't know, they don't put the best chips in them, so I don't know what the deal is with that, but sometimes they burn out. I had an LG Blu-ray player that burned out on me because I was streaming on it all the time. I don't use Blu-ray players anymore for that, but gaming consoles are pretty good. We've got LG C1 or G2. I would go personally with the C1 because I do not like not having a stand. It might sound petty for people who wall mount, in which case maybe the G2 would be the better buy for you. And that, yes, decision was made solely on them putting a stand in the box because, you know, it matters to me. All right, so what's going on in the Red Hood? Shout out to you, brother. Thanks for being a member for over 6 months here. You say, Quantum, you ever watch John Carpenter's The Thing? I haven't. You said it looks amazing on 4K. I haven't seen that one. Maybe something to look into. Who knows? Maybe $200 off the C1. We say it's crazy how the S95B a MacBook cost the same price. Yeah, I mean, Apple's prices are pretty ridiculous. I would get an S95B, period. It's just a better product in my opinion. Do you have a Patreon calibration for the S95B? I do not. Everything basically has to live on YouTube. I had it set up before where I was trying to help a lot of the international viewers, right? Because like some countries just don't support becoming a member, but they miss out on my awesome settings, but they want to see it because, you know, you see the before, you see the after. It's a huge difference, but you're kind of locked out because Google doesn't really support your country. I was trying to help with Patreon, but like it got to a point where like, because I've already made those videos and they're on YouTube already, when I tried to upload them on like a different channel, it didn't work. It was immediately copyright ID flagging me of all people, right? For my thing, right? It's like, hey, boom, you're copyright flagged by Quantum TV. I'm like, I'm Quantum TV. How are you flagging me for my own shit? Bro, this app, this company, God bless them. I don't know how they figure out how they work things out with that, but whatever. So I had to give up on that. It's really unfortunate because I was trying to support more markets, but there's only so much I can do. Best thing I could tell you, maybe use a VPN. I heard a couple people using that as a workaround, but I don't know how reliable that is. I would try to ask people who do that because I wouldn't know anything about using a VPN to get around that restriction. Yeah, the C1 is the best for sure. Troy, what's going on, brother? It's been a while. You said Jeffrey from my past knowledge working in the industry. Premium TVs like the S95B hit Black Friday prices like 2 to 3 weeks before. Yeah, pretty much what I was saying for sure. Barbados, what's going on? Barbados. We got Sheldon from Barbados. I appreciate you coming out, man. We've got, what about the U8G or the TCL R646? I would still go with the U8G. Slight lean towards TCL with the motion, though. Dave, what's going on? Thanks for being a member for over 6 months here. You have, you said, have a Q8FN. There are certain areas where the screen coating, delaminating, yeah. You said does not affect the image or the does not affect the image displayed or viewing, but does it indicate future panel failure? No. I've got the same issue on my Samsung behind me with the Q8FN where in a little area I can see delamination in some areas, but it's nothing serious. I wouldn't worry about it too much. We've got Rick, what's going on? You said Sun City, Durban, South Africa. That's freaking cool. Hey, tell me what it's like in South Africa. I don't really get too many people from there. Big ups from Jamrock, Jamaica, where it's beaches for days, loving the reviews. I appreciate that, brother. Hey, appreciate all of these people coming out and saying awesome things about where they're from, that kind of thing. Hey, we're building a good community in that respect. I really love that part. For the helicopter blade breaking on the A95K, was this with motion processing enabled or disabled for A95K and others? Anytime I do like a motion processing test, I make sure first we test with motion processing on. And it's always the final result because we're testing motion processing. So it was on, maxed out. I gave it its best shot. I always go through all the settings to find the best variation where it would look the best for it. But then also counteractively, I do turn it off to see if it's off, does it just look good? And no, Sony has these little micro jitters and micro stutters that do not look good. So regardless, there was no way around the bad motion thing, which is unfortunate because, like, dude, I have a Sony X900E, I have a W800B. Those TVs are juggernauts for motion. They will crap on every single Sony today, period, for motion. And I would put, I might just do that for dramatic effect going forward. Anytime these Sony TVs come out, just break out my TVs from 2014 and 2017 and be like, there you go, here's a Sony. Because I'm really not a Sony hater, but I really get annoyed because I always hear that, right? I always hear like, oh, you hate Sony. I'm like, I really don't though. I hate their motion and I hate their arrogance. They need to change, but we won't rant on that. But yes, that's to answer that question there. QN90A tips for picture clarity, SDR, HDR. I have it off, but should I put it on? I would turn it off. I don't use any kind of HDR. I just don't. SDR all day. What's your opinion on the Hisense U7H? You said is the 55-inch or the U7H 55-600 right now? I would say honestly, man, it might be okay. I don't know if it's anything like the U7G from last year. I believe that was what it was, U7G. I would say it's okay, but with the U8H, right? Like in the U8G already out, I can't justify stepping down to those lower models. I just can't. I mean, they exist for a reason, but like for me, I just call it arrogance. I just don't see a point in ever approaching a TV sale with less than $649, and that's the going rate for that thing most of the time. I just don't see a point. So for that, I would just say just do the step-up model. Jackie, what's going on? You said, hello, I'm enjoying your channel a whole lot. You said, keep nailing these TVs. Nailing these TVs. I'm from beautiful Florida near Daytona. There you go, Daytona Beach. Pete says, yo. Let's see. We've got a few more questions here. I want to get back to making sure I round everything up real quick. We've got, hey Quantum, do you have video settings on the U7G? I do have settings on the U7G, not particularly the 65-inch variation. Do you still think the U8H is the best QLED? I do. I think it is an absolutely fantastic one. The Christian Conservative says, what happened to your U8H? I got rid of the U8H. I just didn't need it anymore, and so, had to go. We've got big fan of how you call out the flaws. Big fan of how you call out the brands and their flaws and false advertising. What do you think is the best way we can join the fight when we do not all have the kind of time to do what you do? I think the best thing you could do, right, is just be vocal as you possibly can. Even like, let's say you get home from work, you're tired, find some time on your day off. Instead of just posting that Amazon review, right, that will no doubt get scrubbed, censored, or deleted, right? Make a video. It starts somewhere, right? It could be the only video you make, right? I think in every aspect of the world, right, we should have the ability to like just pick up a camera. It could be as crappy as a cell phone, it doesn't matter, and give information, because I think that's where these companies kind of are held accountable. And I personally, like when I'm looking for credible information, if I see a guy with poor lighting and he's sitting there in like a basement somewhere and he's really mad, but he's talking about the product, I believe it more because that's a real person. He's taking time out of his day to show me something real. When I see people with the good lighting like I have here and it's all put together, I'm now kind of already disenchanted. It's going to sound like a hypocritical thing to say, but I'm personally already disenchanted because I know 9 times out of 10, most YouTubers at my level are not like me. My level and higher, not like me. They're not going to just fall on the sword and say, fuck it, I don't really care about ad rev. I will rather have the fans continue to sponsor the channel, and you know what? Whatever happens to the channel happens. Whether we profit, whether we don't, it doesn't matter, right? But other people are not like me. Affiliate marketing is very much a problem. So I think, again, when I see that, I'm like in the back of my mind, I'm like, wait for it. There's a countdown to the next plug, to the next shill. Either you're going to plug your retailer, and you're going to tell us how much of a good deal they're giving all of the customers and why you totally should walk into there, as that retailer then in turn supplies them year-round with TV models. Or you have something entirely different happen, right? Where it's like, okay, we're going to just shill for random people like, oh, today's video is brought to you by Surfshark or Hookies or fucking like whoever the shill company of the day is. And it's that song and dance that distracts and disrupts the video. When I see that, I'm out. Like if I'm looking for like car advice, right? Like, you know, I'm trying to find something that'll maybe spruce up the vehicle a little bit. I'm not going to sit there and like put up with somebody like, and today's sponsor is photo something. It's like, I don't care. I don't give a damn. I came here for like advice on my car, and you're giving me something entirely different, and I'm not going to put up with it. That's just kind of how I work. So yeah, I think to do what I do, while it is tedious, strenuous, it comes with a whole hell of a lot of stress. I think just giving your opinion. Every product that you have in your house right now is a potential video. Look at it that way, right? I don't care if you bought, you know, a candle holder from the Dollar Tree. It's a product. Dollar Tree candle holder. Talk about it. I think the more you do that, the more power you give yourself as not only a person, but as a consumer. And that's kind of how my channel started, right? I saw fake reviews and I put out information to counteract that. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have a technical background. I'm fortunate enough to know certain things, but you don't really have to. I mean, look at guys like Be the Installer and FOMO. Complete know-nothing amateurs in the terms of like what they bring to the table. FOMO will literally read articles off that he found online and totally monetize it. You can do the same thing. Just find the same articles. Find something that people don't want to do, like search for their information themselves, like articles, news blogs, things like that. Put it up. Do the exact same thing he's doing. 9 times out of 10, that information is not unique. And that's my thing. YouTubers aren't special. And a lot of them have this like attitude once they get to a certain level, like I'm better than everybody else. I've got a social media following. You're just a guy that people bookmarked. Don't get full of yourself, okay? You're bookmarked. They'll come back to you when they're ready. And I always see it. You'll see it happen if you do this long enough. You'll see people say like, "Oh, your views don't match this," or "That doesn't match that," as if they know anything. Of course, they're just trolls. But it's one of those things like you know that you put that information out there, and I think your power will lie in you sharing your story, sharing what you can give. Again, regardless. Like for example, you run into a flaw that I might not catch. I can boost your video. Yeah, I might not have the biggest reach in the world, but like people can do that. You know, they can say, "Hey, we share this with other people," and then that's how you get that stuff out there. So I think that's the best way to go. Don't be intimidated by not having the most time in the world. You know, I had a guy, Billy Too Smooth. You know, he's got a full-time job, he's doing his thing, but he was also doing the same thing. He'd show things about his product and things like that, and he picked up a good amount of followers and things like that. It really just depends. You got to really try just to have your voice, right, in this ever-expanding sea. Don't worry about being a shiny pebble in the giant, vast desert, because nobody will ever find you. Just be yourself, be original, and let that do what it does, wherever it takes you. And that's my advice, right? Now, others might give something different, but hopefully that kind of gave a little bit more insight. If you're looking for something a little bit more, ask me and I'll help however I can. We've got Joseph Rivera. Thank you so much, brother, for being with the channel for over 24 months. You said, do external streaming devices affect picture quality? LG E7 native app, you said, had a horrible picture quality, then used an app on the Fire Stick and the picture quality came out perfect. Yes. So if you use an external device, you can get the HDMI correction. If you look, usually it'll ask you if you want to do like black level low or, you know, black level standard, PC, RGB or not. You can do the enhanced format or the standard format. Those are corrections that the internal app is not going to apply. Like HDMI just usually yields a better picture quality, and I think that's probably going to be your best bet for sure. So yeah, that's why I always, by the way, use HDMIs anytime I'm doing like my comparisons or TV reviews or anything like that. I'm only willing to spend one paycheck on a TV. To be very honest with you, I'm not going to pry into your financials, but I don't really know how much that is. What I can say, though, from like experience, right? If you're talking to a guy that's been like super poor, $20 for the week poor before, okay? Even if you have nothing, saving is the way you get what you want. And I think like when I first started off buying stuff that was like really expensive, my mindset was like, at first it was like nothing is worth that kind of money. Like insert product name, right? A TV is not worth that kind of money. A console is not worth that kind of money. A game, a computer, not worth that kind of money. But if you sit there and you save and you look at like what you're going to get longevity-wise, sometimes it does add itself up. I remember back in the day I would buy a whole bunch of cheap-ass phones, and I wouldn't really care much about the name brand, but I was always replacing it because the battery would crap out on me. Once I got the more expensive phones, they last a lot longer, that kind of thing. Just save up a couple of checks, and then take your time, right? As you're building up that cash flow in the back, look at what you want, look at what you don't want, and then build out the perfect TV purchase. Like that's how I would recommend going about it, especially with limited funds, because your money is valuable, your time is valuable that you spend to make that money, you know, and I think that's the best thing I could tell you. What's going on, the Grant family? Thank you for being a member here at Quantum TV. You said I had bought an LG Nano 80 series prior to becoming a member on your channel. Do you have any calibration settings for it? I don't. I've stayed away from the Nano series. You said I also have a Samsung TU7000. I don't have anything for that. You said, are these good TVs? The honest answer, not probably your favorite one, is going to be no. you probably see some of the issues with them, but I don't want to drag your TV through the mud and make you hate it or something like that. So I'll just leave it at a simple no. Pat, what's going on? You said, hi, bud. Sorry, I missed much of your show. Can I ask, from watching you, I'm looking for advice on a TV, not gaming, but use NVIDIA Shield for my streaming, illegal illegal stuff. I don't know if I should advise you on anything illegal now. You trying to rope me into here, bro. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so you're looking for advice on a TV for streaming. Let's just say legal stuff, okay? Because I can't comment on illegal stuff. I want no part in illegal activity. If you're looking for legal activities, I got you. Again, to round off this live stream, basically, your best TVs and your best bet really for fall, because there's not a whole lot that has happened. Your bread and butters, if you're at the budget level, I'd say you're coming up with like, I don't know, sub even like $500. I'd say the Sony X80K is a good option, all the way up into 75 inches. You have TVs like the 6 series. That's kind of like a more bread and butter thing. It's not really going to provide you a whole lot of picture quality, but it's there if you need it, kind of thing. I would say though, X80K, U8H, 6 series from last year, TCL. My biggest recommendation would be TCL 5 series, S5460 to be specific, right? Yeah, from last year. That's what I would say you should go with. If you have like a budget to work with, that's not really the biggest, but even still, it's a pretty solid TV, and you can, I believe, go all the way up to a 75-inch with that as well, which, again, that's ideal. The C1, if you can still find it, those are being discontinued like crazy, in which case then maybe Hisense U8H or C2. And then outside of that, once we start getting up into the high end, I would say you are absolutely looking at a Samsung S95B. Do not pay the Sony markup. It is not worth it. I mean, I could give you reasons all day about that, but that's really as simple as I could put that one. So hopefully that kind of helps. You have, what's your Dolby Atmos system of choice? I'm kind of a bum in that regard. Like, I hate wires, right? Everybody always tells me, they're like, oh man, like I love speakers, I love AVRs, and I'm like, I love sleek and modern and not in my way. And for me, I pretty much don't like to lose furniture space so that I can store towers and speakers. Like, that's never been my thing. And you're not going to wall mount a big-ass tower speaker, right? So, like, for me, I don't really mess with them. I'm a soundbar or bust kind of guy, and I always try to find the best one for the money. You have things like the Bose 900, the Sony Z9F soundbar, the Sonos one that they have. I forgot the name of it. I mean, but the Bose and the Sonos are on the higher, more expensive end, because you have to buy like $899 for just one part of it, and then the subwoofer is going to be about the same. So you end up in total spending over $1,500 for a soundbar. Some people might not think that's worth it, especially because you can flesh out a pretty decent sound kit for that. But like for me, if you want excellent sound, but you do not want wires, then that's kind of how you would have to go about it. But again, it really just depends. But for me, I've rocked my Sony Z9F soundbar. I've had so-so results. I don't really think I'll probably buy a Sony soundbar again. I had one go out on me. My other one's still working. I had to replace one of them. My dumbass replaced it with another Sony. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I just did it. I just did it without thinking. I was like, oh, the Sony went out, buy another Sony. It's like I go on autopilot like a moron sometimes. But work will do that to you sometimes. But now, ironically, this is going to sound weird, but like I have an LG soundbar. One of those super original ones that only have the optical connection. That little fucker is hanging in there, man. I've had that thing about a decade, bro. It's kicking, too. It still works. And I'm like, well, let's see how long we can have this thing run. Like, I mean, really, like an LG soundbar, who would have thought, like, lasting this long? It's crazy. Like, they aren't really primarily known for sound, but they ain't doing bad either. So that's kind of what I'll say there. What would you recommend the U8H for someone who has a Q80T? Yep, that's a big step up for sure. You'll definitely see it. Can you see my question, bud? Yes, I can. You said LG C155, but I'm thinking about the S95B. I still would do it. I would go for the S95B. I'm telling you, man, I will probably sound like the biggest cheerleader until the end of time, much like for the Q8FN 900E. Hisense UHE, like these TVs are just legend. Sometimes in a year, there's always like one TV that is the superstar of that year, and the S95B is it. Now, media publications, because that's the talking piece, will tell you, buy the crappier, more expensive Sony. Do that and miss out. That, like, color vibrancy, all that. And of course, when you mention this to people who actually own it, they know what you're saying. Some are honest, but others are kind of like mad and they don't want to accept it. Like they wasted like over $3,200 at the beginning to be early adopters, right? And so they're total denial. They're like, no, that ain't me. That wasn't me. Meanwhile, a little fun story here, just to end the live stream. I paid originally the full retail price on my Samsung S95B, and then shortly after, it went down to $16.99. I was able to price match it through Best Buy, and I ended up getting it for like $16.99, bro. Happy. Living, bro. I get that money back, I get to pocket it, and I'm cool. Like, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Like, sometimes you get lucky like that too. So for me, $16.99 for all that picture quality, forget about it. Sony could never. And that's just as real as it gets, at least for now. Hopefully down the road that changes, but we don't know. So last question of the night, actual last question of the night. We have Joseph Rivera. You say $1,000, U8H, C1, $2,000. S95B, is that the top order? No, I would say it goes more towards like, I would do the C1 first if it was between the C1 and the U8H. Otherwise, if the S95B is anywhere in that equation, S95B 1,000,000,000%, because it's an amazing TV and it does an excellent job. So that's kind of what I'll say there. Alright, that pretty much concludes everything like for the fall buyer's guide so far. I mean, we'll do more towards Black Friday and things like that, and of course we can always have general discussions and things like that. I do have a movie review coming up of Thor, what is it? Just the 4th Thor movie, so be on the lookout for that. We're going to have some fun with that. And, you know, just the general everyday, man. Hopefully you guys are enjoying yourselves. You guys have fun with whatever the weekend holds for you. God bless you guys. Enjoy. Be safe, that kind of thing. If you have questions for me, leave them down below. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty, being a part of these live streams. I will do my best. I will have to say that. I will do my best to have another one next week. But I swear, every Friday I plan these live streams, it just goes amok. Like now, I've got something I've got to go do. But before, it's always like I could just plan these and it goes to plan. So we're going to have to play it by ear, but I'll try to let you guys know ahead of time so we can just hop on and we can have these conversations candidly and do what we always do. So again, keep rocking out, doing what you guys are doing. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for all the members and all the subscribers that stopped by tonight. And again, until the next video, I'll see you guys later.